We are live and in we're a little bit of a scramble behind the scenes through no fault of Dave's. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the webinar. I am Mark Rabin from KaiNexus. We are joined by Dave Kippen, who's had to jump through some hoops because he is having internet problems at home. He had to drive to an undisclosed location where he has better cell signal. We're going to give it a try, and if there are problems because of the cell signal, we will pull the andon cord and we will do a recording when technical conditions are better, and we will send that recording out to everybody. So first off, Dave, we'll do a quick sound check. How are you? All things considered?
All things considered, I'm doing well. What a good practice for what I'm about to share with the guests.
Well, we'll hear from you today about mindfulness and leading lean, and then during Q&A or at some point, maybe you can share some reflections on if mindfulness practice helped you during what I think we'd all recognize to be a stressful situation here today. So again, thank you for doing your best to make this work out today. So again, today's topic is mindfulness and leading lean, presented by Dave Kippen. Dave, for the past 15 years, or actually more than that, Dave has served as a lean leader, a change agent, a coach, and an educational instructor. Over the past 3 years, Dave has been on a journey around meditation and mindfulness, which has helped deepen his passion for improving the human condition on our beautiful planet, as he calls it. Dave's passion is to aid in the development of leadership and growth through all levels of the organization. Over this time, he's coached more than 250 people through different lean classes. He's facilitated over 100 Kaizen events throughout the US and Europe. And as he describes, Dave's ultimate goal is to help end workplace suffering. That's a great goal by making the workplace a little more engaging, fun, and meaningful for employees at all levels. And Dave is bronze certified through the SME, AME, Shingo Prize, ASQ partnership. And I also want to acknowledge, I had a chance to meet Dave, and he did a different version of session on this topic at the Michigan Lean Consortium annual conference. So I want to give a shout out to my friends back in the state of Michigan, where Dave is joining us from today. So with that, let me turn it over to you, Dave.
All right. Yeah, a snowy state of Michigan today, and my wife texted just before I get on a very widespread outage of internet, so it really wasn't me.
Yeah.
As much as I thought it might be, but it's almost like the universe is testing us today. So, hey, we can handle it, right?
I think
Thanks
you're up
for
to
that
the
great
test.
introduction, Mark. Yeah, that was awesome. It's always awkward to hear about yourself, but I appreciate it. And again, thanks for the opportunity for letting me share just a little bit of what I've learned over the last handful of years, with the folks that follow you. I tried to go back, Mark, to find one of my early versions of Leader Standard Work, because I remember one of my weekly tasks was to read several of the lean blogs, as I was an up-and-coming continuous improvement practitioner, and yours was on it. So you've been, whether you knew it or not, part of my life for quite a while. So thank you. Okay, so let's get into it. This is the agenda. So a little bit about how we got here today. Why am I even talking about this? So I'll give just the brief history. And then I like to start out with what mindfulness is not. Lots of preconceived notions, I think, out there about mindfulness. So hopefully I can clear some of those up. And then really the 3 tenets that we'll get into that I found the most crossover between continuous improvement, leadership, and mindfulness: presence, equanimity, and impermanence. So we'll dig a little deeper into each of those. And then finally, some references. So if anybody wants to start their journey and doesn't know where, I'll offer up a couple of options there. You can see the picture there. Several years ago, we bought our first camper, and the first time I had to learn how to empty the septic tank. A good test of mindfulness. Okay, so just a little bit about my path, how we got here. As Mark mentioned, I've been in the continuous improvement and leadership space for quite a while now. The years keep ticking away. And I've always felt I've done a decent job at being a good human being in the workplace. No one's called me a jerk, at least to my face, so that was good. But several years ago, I realized that there were some things perhaps outside of work that maybe were below the line where I wanted to be, right? Somebody pulls out in front of you in traffic, uh, and your mind takes you to a space that is silly once you look back on it, overreacting to things, getting overly wound up, worrying about the past or the future. So, like any good continuous improvement person, I thought, well, what can I learn? And I came across mindfulness. It's interesting. I came across and I started this journey to improve my headspace outside of work, which it has, but obviously it's come full circle back to work since that's what I'm kind of talking about here. So, first caveat, everything I talk about is applicable anywhere: work, home, and everywhere in between. Why should you keep listening? If that resonates with anybody, if occasionally you react to something in a way that's maybe not how you wanted to, some of these tools and techniques will definitely help, whether it be at work, in the conference room, in the boardroom, at the kitchen table at home. So we'll start what mindfulness, what it's not. So on the left-hand side, I like to start. It's not, at least where I'm coming from, it's not religious. There's no religious undertones to this. Obviously, a lot of the mindfulness teachings come from some Eastern practice. Uh, what I'm going to share with Mark, with you and everybody listening, has nothing to do with religion. I know sometimes that's a little sticky wicket, and I like to start with that. Everything I'm going to talk through is experiential. And in fact, a lot of the mindfulness practices, they encourage you to test it for yourself, right? Everything I'm going to say today is something you can experience on your own without trusting Dave with blind faith. Please, God, don't do that. You can test it on your own. SpongeBob there, he's telling us that really mindfulness is not just about being happy. I think sometimes people think the term mindfulness is all about joy and living in the moment in a positive way, and it's really not. And it'd be a spoiler if I told you why not yet. But it's not about just being happy. The other two pictures, I've never spent a week in a cave anywhere in Nepal. I've never been to an enchanted forest. And most of us have not. And you don't need to have done any of those things to experience some of the benefits that I've seen over the years. And hopefully, you guys can experience over the next weeks and months and years yourself. So I like to level set with that. And again, Mark, at any point, if you want to hop in with questions, there's no formal Q&A for this one, but anytime, just let me know.
Okay, will do.
All right, mindfulness, what it is, and I caveat there as well, at least what I know it is today. I will not claim to be the expert, obviously. I don't know everything, but I've learned enough where I felt like I really wanted to start sharing it with people to help them on their own journeys. One of the first crossovers I've noticed between folks that teach mindfulness and meditation, those types of things, and continuous improvement folks, the more I learn, the less I understand, or whatever the old quote is, right? You'll hear folks that have been practicing mindfulness for 20 years and say they're just now taking their first step. And I hear that a lot in the continuous improvement and hopefully the leadership space, if a leader realizes there's a lot more to learn. So again, I don't know it all. There's probably folks on the call that know more than I do about mindfulness, and that's great. And I hope you connect with me afterwards and let me know your thoughts on this. So 3 things. Mindfulness is really about a true reflection on what's going on around you right now in the moment. So what's happening in your space? Mark, in the immediate space where you're sitting, all of our listeners, what's happening in the space around you? Not next door, not across the country, right there with you. And so we'll spend some time talking about that, experiencing that. The second bit that I think mindfulness is, really, this is what excites me perhaps more than the others, is examining what's happening inside your own skin real time. right? It's really a curiosity journey as much as any other type of journey. And I think that also resonates a lot in the continuous improvement space. Lately, you hear um, a lot of discussion about experiments and curiosity, and always have that child's mindset. Is a word that we've been using a lot lately. And then the three tenets that again I'll talk about, and these were in the agenda: kind of presence, equanimity, and impermanence. Where those overlap is what we're looking at, examining what's going on, really mostly in between our ears up here. I do have a bottom line, if you will, on this slide. And these are my words: the ability to experience the causes of joy and of suffering. I know the word suffering has some baggage. So if you see that here or in other slides, when you hear the word suffering, just think stress, anger, all those kind of negative feelings. We just ball those up into the word suffering. So the ability to experience the causes of joy, happiness, suffering, stress, anxiety, those kinds of things. Imagine if we could get to the point where before we're joyous or before we're suffering, we see it coming, right? We experience it. Okay, so we'll dig in. The first of the three tenets that I talked through is really foundational to the rest, and it's presence. I think presence is a buzzword these days. I doubt there's a person listening here that hasn't thought about, I should be more present. Oh, I wish so and so were more present. Right? It's a very common desire, if you will, these days. I think I'm going to take us a little deeper into presence and what it means from the mindfulness perspective. And the way we use it is presence is really noticing the raw data of the current moment. I've got a little graphic there on the left. So the raw data of the current moment. And this is where I would ask for the chat. What's that mean to you? The graphic kind of gives it away, but feel free in the chat to type when you hear the term raw data of the current moment. What does that conjure up in your mind?
As we're waiting for chat to come in, you're making me think of connections to going to the Gemba, like what's the real reality, not what data might be telling us. There's a comment from Catherine, what my body is experiencing. Dan says sights, sounds, smells, right? Our senses.
Yeah. Yeah, love it.
Anything that's coming in, anything coming in through senses, paying attention to all of our senses. A couple other comments that came in.
Yeah. So those are all spot on. And Mark, what you said is spot on too. And you've shifted us to the right side of the A3. CI joke, to the right side.
Sorry to jump ahead.
Yeah, mindfulness, the raw data of the moment, it's exactly what some of the learners mentioned. Senses and what's going on in our head as far as thoughts. So we're going to we'll run an experiment. We'll do an activity where we test this for ourselves. So wherever you're at, whether it's a parking lot at a Speedway gas station or your home office or work office, I'm going to lead us through just a quick guided observations. I won't call it meditation. I don't want to turn anybody off, but some guided observations to help us understand presence, maybe at a little deeper level. Okay. Again, eyes open, eyes shut, doesn't matter. First thing I'll have you guys do with eyes open, just notice what's in front of you. What's in your immediate field of view? Maybe what's there that you haven't seen or thought about in a while. we'll run through a couple of these, then we'll do a quick reflection.
Somebody chatted a comment, a snowy landscape. Another Michigander, maybe.
Must be a Michigander. Yeah. Good. We'll do a next one. It'll be a external touch sensation. So if you've got a beverage in front of you, go ahead and take a sip. If you don't, grab a pen or a pencil and just jot your name down. Go ahead and take a sip or jot your name down. Now let me ask a couple of questions. If you took a sip, where did the glass or the container touch your lips first? Top lip, bottom lip? Have you ever thought about that in your entire life? If you didn't have anything to drink and you jotted your name down, which finger had the most pressure on the pen or pencil? And have you ever thought about that?
So we actually have people who responded. One person who, like me, was bottom lip, but I had to go back and test that if I was aware of the real reality. And someone else said top lip. And I think none of us have noticed that before.
Very interesting. Good.
With the writing, somebody said index finger, and yes, they have noticed this. Maybe there's a callus on their finger. Someone else said middle finger.
Somebody writes a lot. Good. The third one, we'll just sit quietly and we'll use our 2 ears. So just listen to what's happening around you.
I hear a little hum of some road noise down below the building I'm in, which I normally wouldn't notice. I guess it's almost white noise.
That's right. Lots of times there's all kinds of sounds that people, to your point, they fall away to the background. They become white noise.
And people are hearing things, muffled voices, raindrops, snoring bulldogs, mom filing nails in the other room, refrigerator opening and closing. Thankfully, you hear both sounds, or you have to run and check. Clock ticking, manufacturing sounds, laptop fan, heater blasting. Dog reggae music on YouTube at low volume to keep the dogs calm while I'm attending the webinar.
I love it. Awesome. And then the final experiment we'll run through is what's going on inside of our body, right? So just take a breath. You don't have to take a big inhale or anything fancy. And then let it exhale. And then let's see if we can find some sensations. Lots of times, a heartbeat or a buzzing in the chest. Oftentimes people will feel that same buzzing or some sensations in the hands, even if they're not moving, just wherever your hands are resting.
I feel a crick in my neck that I wanted to resolve by moving it to the side a little bit. Someone else is feeling or hearing tinnitus, feeling relaxation in my neck and back. Well, that's good. I can feel the pressure on my right hand as I sort of lean on my standing desk a little bit, which maybe isn't a good practice. So I will just stand.
That's great. That's great. And again, thanks, Mark, for reading the chats. I apologize to put you in that position, but I do appreciate it. So that's good. That's a fun activity. And I challenge Mark, you and the group. These are always available to us. Every minute of every day. All that's there. And again, I didn't do taste or smells or anything like that. We are being bombarded with raw data of the current moment. And you said it very astutely earlier. It's almost all white noise at this point. Mm-hmm. And why do you think that is? So maybe this is a question to Mark, to you, or to the chat. Why is the current moment, why has it faded into the background? What do we think?
I mean, my first answer is that maybe it just prevents our brain from being overwhelmed, overloaded. Someone else says a million things going on, distractions.
Yeah.
Competing priorities, chaos all around. Sorry to hear.
Yeah, all that's true. Excellent observations. There is an evolutionary part of it, right? Where you just can't focus on everything all the time. And I'm not, so maybe I should be clear. I'm not saying that I want you to start sensing everything you can possibly sense every second of every day. That's really not the point here. But it will build into the okay, so what section here next. And I think this is the piece that people don't connect with presence. In the rare moments where I can focus on the current moment, a breath, a sensation, a feeling, what can't I also be doing? Anybody in the chat?
Worrying, other things,
Yeah,
surfing your phone,
yep,
unconsciously reacting,
yep,
unconsciously, just to
yep.
emphasize.
And I think that is the power of presence that never gets spoken about. When I'm able to be truly present and understanding what's happening in the moment, I can't be worried about the future and I can't be fretting about the past. I can only be accepting what's happening right now. So when you hear, folks that suffer from stress and anxiety, that's why a lot of times, meditation and mindfulness come up because it truly is, although it's short lived, it is an antidote, right? It's absolutely an antidote. I want to start a crusade, and maybe Mark, you and the listeners can help me. When people are getting worked up, it's always take a breath, Mark, take a breath. I want to change that to feel a breath. We're all going to take a breath anyway. We don't have a choice. Feel the breath, right? So that's my first challenge to the team here. Next time you want to offer some advice to somebody and you want to say, take a breath, challenge them to feel the breath. What's it feel like? Where does the breath hit their nose and their mouth? How does the chest feel? Because that will bring them to the immediate moment. And at least for that brief amount of time, things will fall away.
Now, I will jump in real quick. When Dave and I got on the phone, when he first reported his internet trouble to me, not that I sensed you weren't breathing, Dave, but almost reflexively, I did say, well, it's okay. Take a breath. We'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
Good point on feeling a breath.
Yeah.
You were probably doing that.
Take a breath is good. Feel the breath is better. All right. So how does this translate to continuous improvement in leadership? And I've only got one thing up here that I'll share. But maybe in the chat, Mark, you feel free to chime in. All that stuff I just went through, how does that translate in your opinion and the team's opinion to continuous improvement and leadership?
I'm curious to see what responses come in because I had jotted down a question that I knew you were getting to here of how does this connect? How does it help us? So we have some comments coming in: listening, slowing down, relishing the moment and focusing, taking the time, paying attention, listening and understanding what is being asked. And so one thought that comes to mind for me is trying to back to this phrase, the real reality instead of assuming. I assumed maybe, Dave, that you were really stressed out about the internet thing. I could have asked a question first to gauge that real reality instead of assuming.
Yep. Yeah, very fair. All good comments. Presence, equanimity, and transience are all related. So some of those will come back up again. So excellent work there. The way I'll share it here, and again, lots of crossovers, but in 40 minutes, I can only share so much. Another way to think about this is, leading and lagging indicators. And so if we get better, I have my hypothesis here. If we can get better at being present, truly understanding the current moment, we'll choose a better path forward, right? Our body, our senses, and being present can be a leading indicator of what our mouth might do next. I've learned this the hard way plenty of times. if we can be in the moment, again, we're not worrying about the past or fretting about the future. So my hypothesis is we'll make better choices. One quick story to support this, and then a quick Q&A, and we'll move on. A part of my role is we lead continuous improvement teams. We teach and coach the people doing the work on how to improve their own work. And one of our continuous improvement teams, it was a safety team. And the team had appointed a young team lead, right? He didn't have any formal leadership positional authority in the plant. And so this was kind of his first chance to lead the team. One of his first big report outs, so they did their first project, they reduced some risk in the plant. And his job was to report out to, the plant leadership and some others on it. And we were sitting in the conference room, and he started his report out, and it was a little rocky. He wasn't delivering the message that I wanted him to deliver, right? Because it was a pretty cool project, and he just wasn't there. And I felt myself wanting to do something about it, jumping in, saving this poor kid, all these things that we've all done 100 times. But I didn't. I stopped, and I just sat there, and I just enjoyed the fact that he was experiencing his first report out. And wouldn't you know it, by the time he was done, he'd said everything I would have said anyway.
Huh.
So this idea of just being present, sensing that I wanted to do something and then not doing it, was really powerful. He did a great job. Okay, so that's presence. We got a little bit of time for Q&A, not a ton of time, but if there's a question out there, I'm happy to answer it.
Well, one question I was going to ask, and again, I'll invite people to submit those during Q&A. You use the word suffering and almost apologize for it because that word, like, maybe it feels a bit strong.
Yeah.
But is there, and you explained well, it could mean other negative emotions, but is there kind of an origin in the literature, or, that you chose the word suffering? Is that a word that does get used in this context a lot?
Yeah. In the Eastern teachings, that is the word. The word is suffering. To be alive is to suffer, is kind of the short and sweet version of where some of the teachings start, which just means to be human is to feel emotions, right? To be stressed and be angry and be sad and be all those things. So the word suffering is really the original catch-all for our emotional woes.
Somebody commented one of the four noble truths in Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we've all used the phrase, not here, but, I really suffered through that meeting.
Exactly.
It does get said in the workplace sometimes.
Good. Yep. Okay. The second of the three tenets that we'll touch on is equanimity. Roughly translated or meaning being able to balance our emotions or not react. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? And you can see why presence is first. Step one is I have to realize that I'm about to react or that I have reacted. And now equanimity comes in and says, what are we going to do about it? The image on the left there represents what we call feeling tones. And so this is hardwired into us. Anytime stimulus comes at us, an email, a thought, a word, a picture, as a human, we automatically assign it a feeling tone: unpleasant, pleasant, or neutral. We do it without thinking. We do it in the first half of a second of a stimulus coming to us. And then that drives us in some direction after that. And again, this is evolutionary. I mean, our brains were designed to keep us alive, not to keep us happy. So this was an attempt to keep us alive. So now we're trying to outsmart our own evolution a little bit. But this idea of feeling tones. And so every time anything happens to you, there is a feeling tone associated with it. Obviously, major things are pretty, they hit you pretty hard. But even when you take your first sip of coffee, oh, this was a good cup of coffee. Oh, this wasn't a good cup of coffee. Pleasant, unpleasant. Mm-hmm. So we'll do a little experiment here. And so I'm just going to run through three scenarios. And for Mark, you, and then all the learners out there, all I want you to do is draw a smiley face or a sad face. with the feeling tone that hits you when I give you the stimulus. So a weed, a weed, pleasant or unpleasant, smiley face or sad face. And again, you don't have to tell me right now. We'll go through all three and then we'll do a little debrief. A red X on your KPI board.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so I can track the reactions. The first one we had we had both smiley and anguish emoji, unpleasant, red, angry emoji, smiley face, neutral face. Like to me, I mean, especially, if it's not my metric, I feel like it's easier to be calm or neutral. Like that is a fact that the data is what it is. The rational side of my brain says, hey, let's dig in and work on it.
Yeah. Yep. And then the last one, your boss asks you a question and you have to say, I don't know. Pleasant or unpleasant? Smiley face or sad face?
I mean, like somebody said, John said what I was going to say. It depends on your boss. I was going to say it depends on the situation. Do you have a leader who reacts well to I don't know? What's there? If they're green, pleasant reaction to I don't know, you're probably going to feel neutral to pleasant about it. But I see an upside down smiley face. So we're getting all the emojis here. We're getting kind of a discouraged looking emoji. Good boss equals opportunity. And there's the poop emoji.
Yep. That's great. Yeah. And so that's the typical response. There is no good or bad, right? Depending on the situation, depending on where you're at in life, in your own headspace, depending where other people are at. But as humans, we always judge things pleasant or unpleasant. And then oftentimes that starts the chain reaction. We call it the monkey mind cycle, which actually I teach this in we begin this idea of the monkey. These feeling tones then lead us down some path, whether it's a path we want or it's a path we don't want.
You broke up a little bit, Dave.
It's always going on.
Can you repeat that? You broke up a little bit about monkey mind. It's kind of this reactive, reflexive.
Yeah. I was saying, I teach this in a 5-session class, and we really dig into the monkey mind. Am I breaking up again?
You're okay for now.
Oh, okay. I got a little note that my internet was unstable. So, but yeah, this idea that our brains label things pleasant or unpleasant just kicks off that cycle. And if left unchecked, it does things that typically we don't want it to do. Our brain does things typically or goes places we don't want it to go to.
Let me ask a question before we move forward to the CI and leadership piece. I've heard some people I know talk about and write about stoicism. How different is that? And from your reading?
Yeah, that's a great that's a great catch. And because that's usually comes up and I always forget to put it in here. What I'm saying is not that we shouldn't have reactions, right? Stoicism kind of goes down that nothing matters, who cares, that kind of attitude. What we're saying here is we just want to see it. Whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, I don't mind. Joyous or unjoyous, suffering or happiness, doesn't matter. I want to see it. I want to feel it.
Okay.
Because then I want to react.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deny it. That's exactly it. Perfect way to put it.
That's very clear. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah, good. I'm glad you asked that. So then my hypothesis, right? If we can sense our feeling tones through presence, right? We have to get good at understanding what's going on in our own skin and between our ears. Before we react, we can be equanimous, and I'm still not sure if that's a real word, and have much better outcomes, better discussion, better debate, all those things that you can imagine will improve if you have that pause between stimulus and response. Again, a lot of this isn't new. We've heard that, hey, we should stop, challenge, choose was something I learned years ago, right? Something hits you and you stop and you challenge, why am I thinking about it? And then choose your words. And that's exactly what I'm getting at here through this idea of equanimity. The dig deeper part is you can't help those feeling tones. You're going to have a reaction, and it's okay. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Quick story about this. One of the parts of our role, also as we roll out continuous improvement at the day job, are these things called maturity assessments. I'm sure most folks are familiar with a maturity assessment. A team of folks go in and go through 200 questions, and out pops a score. I stood up CI at a plant out in California, and about 2 years in, our assessment team came in to see how they're doing on their journey. I knew it wasn't perfect, but I was really happy with the way the team progressed. I got a call 6:30 in the morning of the second day. It was actually the global CI leader who was also a part of the assessment. And he said, we need to talk about this plant. I thought, all right, I'm going to get some kudos here. Get on the phone. Jason says, this plant is going to have the lowest maturity assessment score we've ever seen. So you can probably guess which feeling tones were coming up for me. Wasn't pleasant. But I caught it immediately. I mean, as soon as those words came out of Jason's mouth, I just stopped because I could feel I was feeling all kinds of ways and all kinds of things. So I was able to sense it. I was able to just stop, pause, and then immediately say, all right, that's what I have to say, right? What did I miss? And so if you can get to the spot where that pause is normal and you can catch it, it really is powerful. All right, quick Q&A, or Mark, any follow-up there from you?
See if there are any questions coming in. I mean, the other thing that just comes to mind, something I saw Stephen Covey speak, the late Stephen Covey, at a Shingo conference, and he shared an idea you'll hear from others of sort of getting better at increasing the gap between stimulus and response. It sounds, I'm curious your reaction to that thought. And it seems very similar, right?
I think it's, they're, if it's a Venn diagram, they're almost on top of each other. Yep. With equanimity, again, I like to point out that the stimulus you can't control, and even your immediate feeling tone, most of the time you can't control, but you can catch it, right? And that's going to drive a better response.
We had a comment in the chat here from Sandra. It says, stop, challenge, choose is new for me and helpful.
Great.
There's that idea of stop. Yeah, choosing a response. It's not just reacting to stimulus.
Yep, absolutely. Well, good. One gold nugget taken away today, so that's a win. And then the third of three, this idea of impermanence. So, the fancy way to say, the transient nature of life. Another way of saying it is everything comes and everything goes, right? And so I've got some pictures there on the left just to get us thinking about that. And, clouds, waves in the ocean come and go. Every thought you've ever had, good, bad, or otherwise, has come and gone. Favorite pets. Hopefully some are still here, but lots have come and gone. Your favorite boss or your worst boss, come and gone. Unfortunately, a lot of people that we love have come and gone. Our favorite jobs or our least favorite jobs. Our best sports team season, go green, has come and gone, unfortunately. If you want to get real heady, the universe, they say, will come and go. Mm-hmm. And so before I move on, where am I going with this? Do you guys think, Mark or folks there? Type something in the chat. Where am I going with this?
Well, there were a couple comments, and I don't read Latin, so I'm translating it. Memento mori, which is Latin for remember that you have to die.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kevin, for translating it. Amore fati, love your fate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But does that, well, I want to see the connection to the CI and leadership. Like fate, that seems a little, disempowering. If our fate is quality problems, well, maybe that's not our fate. That's just something we're suffering through at the moment, and we can address. It'd be interesting to see how you connect those dots, maybe to that kind of situation.
Yeah, I had to have one little Buddha statue in here. The problem itself can't cause suffering, but it's our attachment that causes suffering. So our attachment to our favorite boss, our attachment to the Spartans, Rose Bowl seasons. That seemed like forever ago. Our attachment to a pet, because everything's gonna come and go. So I'm actually going to turn this back on you, Mark, before I give any and listeners, before I give any more. So the activity on this one, what are you or have you been attached to at work, continuous improvement or leadership or anywhere that's caused pain because you're so attached to it? So it's just silent reflection, right? You can chime in the chat if you'd like, but no need, right? This is a silent reflective activity.
Unless it's disturbing the silence, there was a chat.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, so I think I was going to add first was thinking back to the Buddha quote. The word problem sometimes causes suffering because of what's attached to it. Problems are bad. Problems get you in trouble. Similar things shared by Catherine are old beliefs that red metrics are bad, for example. But again, I think that comes back to the thinking, the response from others that we're facing.
Good. And so my hypothesis on this one, once we realize or remember that everything is impermanent, I say we're at ease with the current state. So if that quality problem is really bothering us, know that this wasn't the first quality problem we ever had, and it's not going to be the last, right? The current state is what it is. That's such a terrible saying, but maybe there's a little bit of relevance here, right? If I just completed an A3 and it was terrible, there'll be another A3 after this one, right? And there'll be better ones, and there'll probably be worse ones. And so I think with impermanence, it allows just that little bit of ease, right? Not everything all the time is the most important thing in the world. It's just not. It's going to come and go. And so story time with this one. It's really less of a story and more about what I really like, some of the more recent movements in continuous improvement and leadership, and just thinking about everything as an experiment. I think we've done a much better job in our space recently of calling things experiments or tests or trials, knowing that it's going to change. We're going to learn something and evolve, right? We're not holding on to things as true as we used to. And I think that's a good thing. Even some of the lean leaders these days are challenging how we roll out continuous improvement, right? Why do, I'm making this up, 90% of continuous improvement initiatives fail? There's something that in this experiment we need to retry, right? And it's okay. It's okay. Lean will come and go, right? Six Sigma will come and go. All sorts of things come and go, and it's okay.
Yeah.
I suppose with the caveat, as long as we're moving forward and trying to do things better tomorrow than we did today.
I mean, my sense of upset over that 90% number will pass. It is impermanent, but I mean, I'm just giving you a hard time, Dave. But I for what it's worth, I don't know if this connects to this. I've said there's only two states that a quote unquote lean transformation can be in. A, we're still working on it. B, we have stopped. So the
I like
failure,
that.
I mean, does the failure mean we stopped? Does that mean lean
Right.
failed, or does it mean we gave up?
Yeah. Yeah. Good.
There's a comment from Holly here, I think, a challenge: continuous improvement versus an instant gratification society. We want quick fix solutions around all sorts of things, right?
Very true. Very true. Yeah. Good. Okay.
As we go into the holiday season, one thought that comes to mind here is, if I'm tempted by a big piece of pumpkin pie, I can remind myself that the flavor and the good feeling is very impermanent. So sometimes a bite or two satisfies that. I just reached that
Absolutely.
point of, I'm done eating pie a little bit sooner.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a perfect example. And I think there's been some recent surveys that said the anticipation of the first bite is even better than the first bite. So yeah, and that will pass, right? And you know what, Mark? If you eat the whole pie, you ate the whole pie, my friend.
The bad feeling about having done that will pass.
It sure will. It always does.
Pass through that number on the scale. But
Yeah.
can also,
So, just in summary, these three things, and there are a bunch of others, and there are more that, we talk about in the longer version of this. But with presence, it's just connecting to what's happening right now, really being aware of what's going on inside your headspace, between the ears, and inside your body. Use that as leading indicators of where your mouth might go or your brain might go next. This idea of equanimity, just balance, calm, right? Things are only good or bad because we've labeled them good or bad. I think Shakespeare, maybe nothing is good or bad till our mind makes it so, something like that. And so how do we smooth down those rough edges of overjoy or too much suffering, right? And just realize that it's because we think it's that way. It's that way. And then the idea of impermanence. All the good stuff came and went. All of our best days came and went. All of our worst days came and went. And that will continue to be forever and ever. All right, so I can pause here for any wrap-up questions. I've only got one slide left, and that's kind of a continuous education journey. If anybody wants to know kind of what books I've read and podcasts I've listened to, I'll share that. But are there any additional questions here before we kind of wrap up?
well, there's a comment, and then I would suggest maybe you can show that. And I have a couple quick announcements, and people can submit questions during that. Just comment from Terry. This has been the best webinar. Could it have something to do with the hat wearing, truck sitting real guy delivering the message? Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry
Thank
about
you,
your
universe.
snow, but yeah, thank you for that experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Kevin said, as a Stoic Buddhist, quote unquote, this hits home on many points. But yeah, if you want to share those resources, we'll let questions come in. I've got a couple questions also that I'd like to ask you.
You bet. And so, like in a continuous improvement person, I started with books, and I've got several books on here. I don't know that I would say any are better than another. So I challenge you guys, take a look at the snapshot of each one, and whichever one kind of speaks to you, start with there. My current favorite, though, is that Peak Mind by Amishi Jha, I think. I'm sure I'm getting her last name wrong. Bottom middle there. Mm-hmm. Great. She does a great job weaving real life stories with lots of scientific data on attention and mindfulness. She gives a couple challenges. I didn't talk at all about meditation, and maybe I should have. I do try to meditate. So the way I equate meditation and mindfulness is like going to the gym. You use your muscles all day, every day, even if you never go to the gym, right? But if you're religious about going to the gym or regular about going to the gym, it can help you use your muscles in real life. And that's how I see mindfulness and meditation, right? You can practice everything we just went through without ever meditating, without 1 minute of meditation. But if you decide to add meditation as part of your regular routine, it will help strengthen your mindfulness practice, right? And so that's how I equate those two. And she speaks to that a little bit in her book there. she also leaves readers with a challenge. The next interaction you have with somebody, try to be present for just 2 minutes. Like, Mark, that's how low the bar is anymore. Can we just be present for 2 minutes with somebody? And so that's a challenge to everybody here as well. The next conversation you have, just try to be present and feeling your own energy, feeling the energy of the person you're with for just 2 minutes. So that was my most recent favorite. 10% has a great book, and then the app is really good as well.
10% better.
10% happier. Yep.
10% happier. Sorry,
Yep.
I'm thinking Kaizen. No, 10% happier is a good Kaizen.
Yeah. And then Sam Harris has an app. It's called Waking Up. And last time I checked, and I think it's still there, there's a beginner's 40-day meditation challenge. And I think it was free, where if you're interested in meditation, it's a really great way to ease into it. It's made, it's like the couch to 5K for meditation. So it just starts really easy and gets you in there in a 40-day cycle.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. And I do want to make a couple quick announcements. Our next webinar to wrap up the year is going to be December 13th. It's going to be presented by two of our customers from UMass Memorial Health. That said, we don't want people to say, oh, this is about healthcare. It's not for me if you don't work in healthcare. This is really about leadership and continuous improvement. The title of that webinar is Managing Transformation Projects, Improvements, and Learning in a Virtual Environment. So again, December 13th. Registration for that is going to open up probably on Thursday. Speaking of experiments, we are going to do an experiment with a different webinar technology. So everyone stay tuned about that. You'll receive information about that technology if we end up moving forward with the experiment. But if you want to get notified about future webinars as registration opens, you can sign up to get notified at kinexus.com/webinar. So we'll look forward to Penny Iannelli and Clina Archambault from UMass Memorial Health. We're going to have a lot to share on December 13th. Also want to tell you about, if you can advance it, please, Dave. Our blog.kinexus.com, has something on there almost every weekday. If you're looking for information and inspiration, we encourage you to check that out. And then one more advance, we encourage you to listen, subscribe, follow, rate, and review the KaiNexus Continuous Improvement Podcast. The audio of this and other webinars is in that podcast series. A lot of conversations with Kinexians, as we call it, the team members at KaiNexus. You can find that in your favorite podcast app. And then if you want to advance to the Q&A, Dave's email is davekippen@yahoo.com if you want to reach out to him for discussion here. So Dave, this is more of a reflection than a question, but I thought maybe you could elaborate. When you talked about having the true reflection of, you're talking about presence, have the true reflection, the raw data of the moment. I'm thinking about one parallel to CI is that if you go and do a site visit at a company like Toyota, there are things you can observe with your eyes, artifacts, tools, methods. I think what's harder, whether it's thinking of what's inside us, or as was once described in an article by a Toyota executive, if you go and visit a plant, you don't see the soul of Toyota, was the very specific language that they use, which we could describe as culture, mindsets. I was just, that was my one reflection there. It's harder to think of what's going on inside for individuals.
Yeah, I've heard the term the hidden factory. So what can't you see, to your point? What's beyond the artifacts, and sometimes the hidden factory is tactical. How do people know what they're working on? But it's also the morale and the human side. And the hidden factory of this is what's going on inside of us as we learn to be more present and understand what's happening. And I can tell you, the better you get at that, the more you can see it in others. Just by, again, we all know how to read body language to a point, but there's another layer to this. I think that's even deeper than just body language. And you start to be able to sense that and pick up on it as you get better at sensing it and picking up on it in your own body.
Yeah. And so to that point, one other reflection I'll share is you talked earlier, Dave, about reacting to things, getting overly wound up. I am guilty of that, maybe more than the average person. And I've tried to get better at noticing there is, in a way, kind of a physical sensation of, okay, I'm getting emotionally ramped up. If I'm typing a reply to an email and I've got that sort of almost tingly feeling in my fingers, just stop.
Yeah.
You should not be writing an email reply. It might get me in trouble if I feel like I'm in that heightened state. And it's hard to separate, like, what's the physical sensation versus realizing, okay, I'm a little wound up. Just
right.
Wait, sleep on it, pause.
Yeah. And that's the practice. Yeah. And I'll let you off the hook a little bit. That's what we do as humans. Mm-hmm. And so we all do it. We all react. Most of us overreact. And if I didn't say it, I still get angry when somebody pulls out in front of me.
Yeah.
Some of the time. But I am getting better at just being able to sense it and really kind of shrug it off, right? As what we say these days. And so, Mark, even if you find yourself after the fact, perhaps reacting in a way you didn't, if you catch that even and reflect and sense on it afterward, that's a win.
Yeah.
Because you'll start to move this monkey mind cycle backwards. We catch it too late. We catch it in the moment. We're catching it before it happens. And that's what we want to try to work toward.
Yeah. And so we have a lot of thank you comments, and I want to thank you for doing this, Dave, but maybe I want to invite you to share maybe a reflection. This was only happening 75 minutes ago when we first talked, or I guess you were discovering the internet problem well before that. Reflections in terms of your own mindfulness in the moment, facing that stressful situation.
Yeah, it was really interesting. So I have today off, heading out west this week. My daughter's getting married, and so today's kind of our prep day off. And so like I mentioned, I planned my day around this. And so I rode the Peloton at 11 because I thought, I'll have plenty of time to get set up and get on this by 1, and I get off the Peloton and, the internet's out. That's strange. I'll just unplug it and plug it back in. Unplug it and plug it back in. Didn't work. Okay. And at this point, my fantastic wife is running around saying, I can't watch the show I want to watch, and the Alexa's not working, and all these things. And why aren't you upset? She's saying to me. I said, well, we'll either get the internet back on or we won't.
Yeah.
And it was just like that. And tried a few more things, didn't work. Had to go take a shower. So just climbed in the shower like normal and didn't sweat it, came back down. Internet still wasn't on. And that's when Mark, shot you the note saying, we may need a plan B here, buddy.
Yeah.
And you and I had a conversation, came up with a plan, and here we are. It was unpleasant still. I mean, I didn't love it. But I certainly felt like I handled it. I handled it in the way that I wanted to. Maybe I'll put it that way.
Well, good. And I think I felt neutral about it, realizing that there were other plans. We could have had a plan B or C or D. There were options or things we could have done, including, well, let's just wait and record it. But what I didn't know was the context of, I didn't know or I didn't remember that you were on your way out of town. So for you, it was probably more of today or long wait,
right,
as opposed to today versus tomorrow. So
right.
Thank you for sharing that context, and thank you for suffering through the technology challenges, because it worked 98%
good
audio wise, and I'm glad that Plan B worked out. So Dave, thank you again for doing this. I want to thank everybody who attended, and most everybody stayed on here to the end. So I think that's awesome. A sign of a job well done, and there are more thank yous coming in. So again, want to thank our presenter, Dave Kippen. You can reach out to him, davekippen@yahoo.com, if you want to send questions or interact more. I want to thank everyone for attending. Dave, if you like, I'll give you the last word before we sign off.
Think about what your next step is, right? If any of this resonated, even just a little, what are you going to do different this afternoon or tomorrow? Whether it's buy a book or whether it's, hang a little sticky note next to your monitor that just says, be present. Try something.
Yeah. Well said. Okay.
Thanks, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thanks again.